Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited, actually, to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of The Huddle. Coach, yes! All right!
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name, yo. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. We reporting live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards of Hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. What's going on, fellas? And by the way, before we even get it started, I think we should all sing a happy birthday right now. Isn't it someone's birthday on this show right now?
It's got to be Vish. He's smiling.
Not me.
It's definitely not mine. I don't know why.
Yeah,
mine.
DJ,
No,
what's
you know,
your-
there was confusion today because one of my buddies posted a picture and tagged me in it, but it was for one of my buddies in the picture. My
I was like,
birthday is
damn.
January 3rd.
Well,
How the hell did I forget about that?
let's go ahead and say happy birthday to DJ's buddy,
You
whoever
know
that
what?
is.
I'll take that for 2024. Those are my
Yeah.
2024 wishes.
What the hell? Why not? Happy birthday anyway.
Good vibes
Yeah,
regardless.
DJ, at some point during the year it was your birthday, so happy birthday.
At
So,
my
yeah.
age, I'm not looking
Yeah,
forward to
there
any
it
more
is.
birthdays. So,
Oh, I screwed that one up, didn't I? All right.
Oh, this is off to a good start.
hey,
kind
you
of
know
like
what?
our
We're raw and
recruiting,
uncut, baby. This is what you get.
It's not like we talk or anything before
Yeah.
the show. Like I just got on literally a minute ago, right? So yeah. Oh man, life. What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing? You guys ready for some spring football?
100%. Yes.
That's it. We got spring game
Well,
coming up on
I
Friday.
got my fill of baseball over the weekend. Yes, I'm ready for football.
Yeah, well, yeah, and your fill wasn't very fulfilling.
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, things did not go according to. Actually, they probably went according to plan, but not the way we wanted them to.
Right.
So
Not according to our plan, I guess. So, yeah.
I will say when I am going to recut the intro before the football season to
it would be nice.
pour one out for the ghosts of Christmas past there that have been impacted by our curse. But the ending, I'm definitely leaving in there.
Oh my god.
That what
that's
is wrong
gold.
with us for Miami Hurricanes fans is like, I mean, that is the theme
That was
of the
probably one of your
show, the
best
theme of the
soundbites
fan
ever.
base. I mean that's gonna live on. That is definitely staying in.
Yeah, there's no way you can take that out.
That was one of your best sound bites, I think.
It was good timing. And as Jazz says, we don't prepare, so he didn't even know it was coming. I was just like yelling because people were being mean to Tyler Van Dyke. And then
Hopefully, we don't
perfect
have any
timing for
more,
Jazz there dropping on top of it.
hopefully we don't have any more sound bites next season. I mean, I want good sound bites, not frustration sound bites.
We're probably gonna get both.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
get both.
true.
It's gonna
What
happen.
can you do?
It's gonna happen. Anyways, we wanted to definitely get into spring football because obviously we've kind of hinted at it a little bit here and there, and excuse me. And of course, by the way, does my mic sound okay? Do I sound all right? Ooh, I don't want to jinx it. Scheiße.
There's no like buzzing noise in the background or anything. I don't know. Don't know what has happened.
Yeah, this is weird. All right. Yeah. So we've got a big. For me, it's a big Friday night. It's a big night for football for the Miami Hurricanes. Some can kind of downplay it a little bit because it's only spring football. There isn't anybody. Half the guys aren't on the team yet, or there's some guys missing with injuries, or this, that, and the other. But I mean, for real, like this is important. This is important for this team. It might not be important for other teams, but this is important for the University of Miami. And I think that we're going to go out there. Blue, I know you'll be out there. I'll be out there myself as well. So we're going to go out there. We're going to expect to see some good things, and we're going to see some players struggle possibly. And, hopefully we'll see a surprise or two. I think that's the thing I look forward to the most, Blue. I'll kind of kick it to you first on this because before we kind of get into specifics, it's what I look forward to the most is the surprises, right? The guys that, come out, not out of nowhere, but just put on a little bit of a show and get the guys excited, get the crowd excited, get the coaches excited for what they see. For me, that's the most exciting part about spring football. It's not about yeah, it's important to execute and all that, but you're gonna have a lot of mistakes. You're gonna have a lot of players not knowing where they're lined up, and because now you're under the lights, you're playing in a game situation per se with the fans, so it's a little bit different. But for me, Blue, it's about the excitement of someone just popping off and being like, "Whoa, this guy had a monster spring football game, spring game. This could be a guy that Mario Cristobal and the staff lean on coming into fall football."
Well, I mean, when you take a look at the days gone by, that was something, because no one really, before the advent of social media and cable and everything like that, everybody was kind of like everything was under wraps. But nowadays, there's so many leaks on what players are doing this and who they're looking at, so it's like anticlimactic when you get there. But the thing that a lot of the fans are looking for, because remember, they only let the media in for the first 20 minutes or whatever for practice. So you can only speculate or hear what you hear from, some of the people who were there. But I think that there's a lot of areas like that offensive line that the fans are going to really be trying to hone in on, see an improvement. And you don't want to walk away, from this, let's say, your running backs just go nuts, and your safeties are making interceptions, and you don't want to leave the with that much of a high or low, because this isn't what this is about. This is just a glorified scrimmage in front of how many, I mean, and here's a good case in point. Alabama gets 80,000 fans for this, but they just treat it as just another scrimmage. So that's what's going to happen. I think you're right, though. We've been starved so long for, high level kids that we finally have some. And especially everybody's anxious to see, a Lee or a Cohen, two guys that have been there, done that at a pretty high level and coming in. And they're anxious to see how a healthy Tyler Van Dyke's going to do. And, here's somebody, and, no matter what press conference you listen to, and Mario is talking about the players, it always circles back offensively to Restrepo. So here's a guy that you got to think that before he got here, because I know I took a lot of hits and crap for saying that this kid's a player, no matter how big or whatever he does, and then when Mario got here, he goes, there were people saying, "Oh gosh, Restrepo wouldn't have been one of the guys he would have recruited." Yeah, he would have. I mean, this kid is he's a leader now. He gets out there, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that you need somebody outside. I know Young is a guy that we all talk about, but until he gets it done in games, there's nobody right now on that roster as far as a receiver that anybody could really trust to break a game open. And that's what they're going to be looking for. Defensively, I think we alluded to last week, there's more depth up front, linebacking wise now, where you don't have to count on Corey Flagg to make every other tackle. Secondary's much, much, much stronger than it was last year, especially with Kinchins, who comes in this year as one of the best in the nation. He didn't come in that way last year. He had those really good games that elevated him. So, and just judging, I think Miami's special teams are going to be as good as anybody. Lou might be gone, but his stunt double is pretty damn good too. And kicking wise, Borregala. So I think there's a lot that people want to watch, but I just caution, no matter good or bad, don't walk away from this spring game, really feeling that this is the definitive, because it's not. And Jazz, you mentioned there's a lot of new faces that'll join. There's a lot of people who'll be wearing jerseys and nothing else on Friday night because they've been hurt all spring. So they're not going to be playing. But I think the big part of this program will be the second week of August, because then when things start winding down, then you're going to have to, then there's no more, hey, there's 5 months left. But I think it's a good thing that we're going to get an opportunity. The fans love to see this stuff. And you saw last year, Miami usually don't get these record crowds for these spring games, but last year was a darn good one, and it was boiling hot. I just think that this year they could draw in the 10, 12,000 range, maybe even more, because of the fact that this is a night game. You know that what that means from a tailgate perspective. So there's going to be a lot of that going on. I think the fans are just, they're looking forward to it. New staff, but I caution again: don't good or bad, don't take what happens this Friday night as gospel.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, I think that's the whole point is, it's just spring football. It's not, that's not anything to. You're not going to come away from this game thinking we're going to go to the national championship or thinking we're going to go 0-12, right? Like, that's not the purpose. And like you mentioned, Blue, it's a glorified scrimmage, but it still gives the opportunity for the fans,
sure,
who are paying to watch these guys play, and to be quite honest with you, I don't know how good of a job University of Miami has done in giving the fans a little something back for raising prices this year after going 5-7 and the whole fiasco with the parking. Like, those things might not seem like people care about, but fans care about that stuff, and it's important. And if you want to get people out there to support your team, you have to give them a little bit something. Maybe this is an opportunity for them to start to do that, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, when I say someone pop off and just like, you don't want to see the offense destroy the defense or vice versa, but if one guy can shine bright, that just comes out of nowhere, or that's kind of low key on the radar, but really hasn't shown. Like, if we see Chaney, Don Chaney, just kind of busted out, and yeah, we knew he could do that, but stay healthy, be healthy about it, and look good out there. That's going to say a lot. It's going to get some people excited. And DJ, I want to go to you, and then we'll finish with Vish. But that's the whole point of it for me, is to see something like that. And how do you think how do you think the fans react to that? And the media, everybody in general, if they start to see something like that?
I think the fans react positively, and I think the media react positively. I mean, I think, Blue is right. You can't put a ton of stock into these spring games, but, good habits start all throughout, the preseason, and that includes the spring game. I mean, sometimes players who have strong spring games go on to take that and have a strong season. So I think it's important to, yes, it's a spring game. Yes, it's a glorified practice, but I think it's important to practice, good habits in this spring game so they can just carry over. It's all about repetition, preparation, and having a good routine. And I think, the spring game is another chance to do that. And then, I've heard, just from reading all these articles, how energetic this coaching staff is. And, if I were a Miami fan, at the game, I would be looking to see, does that energy carry over in a situation like this? Are they really that energetic? Because if they are, that tells me that they're fully engaged no matter what, type of situation this is. And again, that's a good habit once the season starts, and especially with all the highs and lows that go throughout the course of a season.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because Vish, I kind of wanted you to touch on that also, is, the habits and the excitement that's around that coaching staff and how pumped they are on a daily basis and how they coach, right? Like, that's something that you want to zero in on, that you want to key in on during the scrimmage, because if they're doing that, that kind of tells me they've kind of bought in, right? And so execution might be a little crisper. They might line up a little bit better. They won't have so many mistakes, so many dumb things happen during the course of even a spring game when it's early and they're still learning the offense and the defense. Brand new offense, brand new defense, a lot of new faces. It's important for them to kind of get that aspect down and be able to kind of finish off the spring in a positive note.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the spring game is the perfect time for for fans to basically get whatever they want, because you're playing yourself. So if Chaney breaks off a big run, man, this defense sucks. Or you could say, that's awesome, Chaney is playing well, right? And it's just, I agree with you. It's more just, enjoy the experience. It's going to be a long time before they take the field again. So, And it's been a long time since they make a bowl game. So, I think we probably read into it a little bit too much. And it's supposed to be, like you said, Jazz, earlier, it's supposed to be an enjoyable experience for the fans and not, this is not like you break the film and try to figure stuff out, right? And I know we're going to have fans do that. And that's just like not the point. And I think, obviously this goes without saying, job one, no one get injured. That's kind of the thing. And then the other thing, like you said, it's the one thing that will be, translatable is how the coaches do interact with the players, because they're not going to like fake it. They're going to be who they are. And you might be able to get a little bit, again, I use caution here because this is a very controlled environment, but might be able to get a little bit of a read in terms of how they're interacting and that sort of thing. Although, last year coming out of the spring game, no one was like, wow, this is a disaster or anything. Right. And then there it was. But also, again, I think if you look at the first month of last year, I don't think anyone really thought it was headed to a disaster of a season. I still go back to this. When Van Dyke got injured, our biggest problem was we were moving the ball up and down the field and couldn't punch it in. We were like second in the ACC in total offense at that point. And and then it turned into we can't move the ball. So these things are going to, like DJ said, these are going to go through phases during the season. And for the spring game, it should be enjoyable. You get to see a bunch of our players play. We have new coordinators on both sides. You'll see some interesting things formationally, even if it is vanilla. It's still going to be a different type of vanilla. So that'll be cool to look at and kind of see, oh, this is interesting. We don't use this formation anymore. We're doing some interesting things here. Like, they're not going to completely run a different playbook than they would run, in the fall. So you're going to get, so in that sense, it's a little bit more interesting, I think, for us, because it's not, the same coaches as last year running out the same stuff, and we're just kind of going to see another flavor of it. It is going to be different in that sense. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, but yeah, don't take it too seriously. Enjoy the time. Like Blue said, get your tailgating in. Might be the last time based on the parking situation. So definitely enjoy that. And yeah, have a good time at the game. And I do not overreact to it, I would say, is probably the best piece of advice, and just enjoy the game.
Well, that advice is not going to be taken by anybody, Vish. And you very well know
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Right? Because everybody's going to overreact one way or the other, right? It's either going to be doom and gloom, or, we're going 12-0 national championship.
Everyone's opinion has been predetermined.
Right.
Because either way, you're going to see something. Like, if one side is doing something good, that means the other side is necessarily failing at the same time. So you can't even, there's no way you can take a positive or a negative out of this unless you've predetermined how you're going to interpret it.
Well, here you go. I got a question for you. Would you be, this is a tough one, right? Would you be more excited if you saw the offense dominate or the defense dominate? What would scare you less? I guess not how excited you would be, but what would scare you less, or what would kind of not bother you as much?
The defense. If the defense plays better, I'm much better with that than the offense. Because again, vanilla playbook should, in theory, favor the defense. You're not gonna, get as exotic there. It's also generally they're both new staffs entirely, so. They're both trying to learn new playbooks, but it's usually the offense is usually a little bit behind at this stage. And so I would expect just generally the defense to be a little bit ahead. So if the defense dominates, I don't care either way, to be honest. I just don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm just gonna be blunt about that. But if you have to pick one of them to dominate, I'd rather have the defense do it.
What about you, Blue? You think it's the defense also?
I kind of agree with Vish, but here, the point is too, is that there's no surprises. I mean, they see each other every day in practice, so everybody knows tendencies, and it's sort of like a guy that you work out with, as a fighter, and you go in there and you have to fight him. He's going to know your pluses and minuses, your weaknesses and strengths. So I wouldn't take too much out of this. But I agree. I'd like to see the defense dominate, because especially the schedule that they have, especially with the ACC teams that run the ball extremely well. You're going to have a good front seven. And certainly when you're going against guys like Travis and, quarterbacks that are in, you're going against this year, and there's going to be some pretty good ones on the schedule. The kid May again from North Carolina and players like that. So this would give a good opportunity because we feel that Van Dyke is one of those dudes, that when he's playing healthy, and I mean, he's as good as anybody. He throws the ball extremely well. He has great reads. And so I kind of agree, if the defense can come up, make some stops, control the running game, and obviously it's going to be a test because let's see how this new, quote unquote, this new offensive line plays. Because certainly you're going to see a lot of them. Nobody really is injured to the point where I don't think they're going to play on the offensive line. So we'll get a good look at, the mix of the couple of veterans along with the returnees and some of the young kids. And I think that's what people want to see. And how's this defense going to, stack up? And we've heard some really, really good things about Bain. I hear
Bain is uncoverable.
Yeah. It was like Warren Sapp.
Nobody can cover him.
Well, it reminds me of Warren Sapp because I remember that they had to keep Warren Sapp out of practice sometimes because he dominated so much and they weren't really getting anything done. I think by his second year, Bain's going to be just like that.
I'm sorry. I got thrown off at this last.
I don't have a good poker face, so
I was like, I don't know if you guys noticed, Blue and DJ, but Vish was making some. I don't know what the hell he was doing over here. And I'm like, what's going on? With
I got
this
excited.
I just let him do his own thing.
Started doing hand signals. Like, I don't know if he was Gino DeMario.
I was just like happy, but I could really celebrate because we're on camera, and I don't know.
Of course you can, man. Destiny Harden just got drafted.
Destiny Harden got drafted by Phoenix in the WNBA.
Nice.
Oh, okay. I'm not even watching.
Just now.
Good for her. What pick was she?
27th.
Nice.
Hey, they all went to the soccer game the other night.
Yeah, no, they honored both the
and the girls got a chance to meet David Beckham, who they probably never seen in their whole lives. But
wait, but how many of the men's basketball team was there? Because there was more men than more of the star men than there were the star women. Oh, really?
I mean, you had Destiny Harden, but the Cavenders weren't there. A couple of other girls weren't there. So, but the men were there, and it seemed like they had a good time. They did them up right. My buddy went to the game, and he says they really honored them very well. They all gave them honorary shirts with their names on it, which is cool. Really nice. And I don't think Katie Meyer was there, but Coach Al was front and center. Yeah. He loves that stuff.
Good for them, man. Good for them. Well, good for Destiny Harden. That's awesome. Well,
and I'm sure they're going to get.
She's a baller, man.
And I'm sure they're going to get recognized this summer by the Marlins, and I think next year that the football game, because come on, man, this is a big thing. Elite Eight, Final Four. Nobody gets to do that, and I think you got to play on the strengths of what your programs are doing, and certainly that was. What a plus for Miami, those 2-3 weeks, from the publicity standpoint, it was all good, I mean, and, you saw the way that LSU beat up on Iowa in the final game. Miami had their chances against LSU. So
LSU scored 102 points in the finals, and we held them for 52 points.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the ball in the basket.
Yeah. No, but it just shows you what an amazing year that it was for the basketball teams, and I'm glad. I'm glad because that kind of puts the pressure on Mario and those guys up there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Their game a little bit.
Well, good multiple good segues. So I guess I can just announce this now. We're going to expand our basketball coverage, and so if you've been kind of following some of the shows I've been doing with Melissa and Matt, they're going to permanently be kind of joining our Six Rings Canes basketball
Melissa's
coverage.
known as Hoodie Girl.
Yeah, Melissa's Hoodie Girl, and Matt is Matty Icy.
Matty Ice, yeah.
I always pronounce the E's because I don't know if he's stylized or whatever, but I just call them Matt and Melissa. I've actually met them and stuff.
That sounds great.
Anyway, so we're gonna have some off-season shows and then definitely in the season.
And by the way, during football season, if we start doing this. What's it called? Playback, DJ.
Yeah.
Playback.
You know,
Me and you had fun with that, Jazz. That when we did that, didn't we?
That was good. That was
Yeah, I
good.
like
But
that.
if we're at the game, I mean, Vish, if Vish is not down here, that's something that he might be able to.
I just gotta watch my
Well,
language.
at this rate, I think I'm at every single game that this school program plays at this point. But
I don't know, but
I gotta pull back though. I gotta pull back.
pull back.
But speaking of which, though, I said it was a double segue because we're also Jazz and I are gonna expand our baseball coverage.
Nice.
So that show is coming up next at 9:30. So stick around. We're gonna be talking
Yeah,
about
we'll do a little
baseball.
not that I want to after what happened this weekend, but yeah.
But I'll say this though too. Blue mentioned, the basketball program kind of put a marker and they're going to increase the pressure on Mario. The person feeling that immediately right now is Gino DeMare.
Ain't that the truth?
He's mid-season and it's not nearly okay. We'll talk about this at night. It's
We'll
not
talk about
nearly
it.
as bad as I
No,
feel like
it's
some
not.
of the reaction is. But anyway,
Well,
he's definitely if you got the basketball team in the Final Four, the women's team in the Elite Eight, and there's the baseball team is the original championship program on campus. It kind of has those same expectations, and they're in the middle of the season. Like, can you imagine if the basketball team was going to the Final Four as Mario was getting beat by Middle Tennessee State? Like,
right.
Gino's got it on top of his season, so he's definitely getting that pressure.
Yep, and another big weekend this weekend. So
yeah, big. Anyway, I sidetracked the whole call.
That's all right.
Let's get back on topic here.
It's all right. We heard from Blue on this. DJ, there's certain positions that obviously everybody's going to be looking at really tough. Really strongly, especially from the fan base and the media. They want to see certain players in certain positions that maybe didn't live up to expectations last year, kind of come in and do their thing this year. What are some of the things? What are the positions? Or let's do one position because I'll ask Vish the same thing, and then I'll pick one different. What is one position that you don't necessarily need to see anything flashy from, but that you want to see kind of do well in this spring game on Friday night?
I'd say the quarterback position because we kind of know what we're gonna get as far as a starter, but we've talked about Ja'Carri Brown maybe struggling a little bit here and kind of widening the gap from QB1 to QB2, and obviously there's going to be a QB1 to QB2 gap, but you want to feel comfortable in case of quarterback one goes down, in this case Van Dyke. And Blue talked about it last week. The offensive line wasn't or hasn't necessarily been the strongest, at least for the last couple weeks, and good line play and good quarterback play often go hand in hand. So I'm curious to see, what the quarterback room looks like beyond Van Dyke, and if there is going to be any sort of signs, at the spring game, that Brown is sort of more developed than he was even a couple weeks ago. Just something so that in case Van Dyke goes down, there's something that we could point to in the quarterback room that we feel comfortable with.
But I think that, speaking of quarterbacks, before I get to you, Vish, I think that people don't, I don't want to say they don't realize, but Tyler Van Dyke is that dude. And it's very hard to be able to be a close QB2, a quarterback 2 behind Tyler Van Dyke, right? So, I tend to maybe see Ja'Carri Brown as a player who's still developing, right? And he is getting better. But when Tyler Van Dyke is healthy, he's top 5 quarterback in the country, if you ask me. And so it's hard to first of all, their style of play is a little bit different, right? They both play the quarterback position a little differently. So Ja'Carri Brown's development is going to be more interesting to see how, from an arm perspective, right? Can he hit the throws? Can he get his accuracy down? Because his legs are there, right? He is a wide receiver, a running back that can play quarterback, that plays quarterback really well, right? So the thing is, can he develop? Can he kind of sharpen those tools a little bit as a dual threat quarterback, but be able to not rely so much on his legs? I think he's going to have packages this year where they're going to bring him in. I think it'd be. I think it wouldn't be smart if on 3rd and short and 4th and short, he's not the quarterback, right? Like I just feel like that's the guy that might be in there to do things. If he can threaten you with his arm. If he can't, then every defense is going to key in on him running the ball, some sort of draw, so on and so forth. So it's interesting that you mentioned the quarterbacks, and I think that that's going to be important. But I think just as important is the development of Emory Williams as well, because those are your three. I don't think you're going to bring in. I think they might try to bring in a guy in the transfer portal, a quarterback that's a veteran. I just don't know if there's anybody out there that's number one starting caliber. We'll see, right? After spring, we'll see what happens there. But then on top of that is, are they going to be able to beat out Jakari Brown, and is Emory Williams going to be able to kind of step up? We all saw that he has the tools, in this recruiting cycle. We saw the tape, so I think it's going to be interesting. Plus, another. Speaking of quarterback news, I'll kind of throw that in there. The Miami Hurricanes just picked up a little bit of a project, but a guy again that's kind of like flying on the radar, like Emory Williams was last year, in Judd Anderson. Judd Anderson is a big time prospect, though, 6'6", 220 pounds, out of a great football area in Gray, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's a big time prospect, needs to learn how to do things. Hold on. Better? Because apparently I had the buzzing again.
I already wrote back and said it went away again, but you've perished. You pulled the ripcord now.
I'll see what I do after. But I think that Judd Anderson is a great pickup. A lot of people think that he was a second choice because Aaron Nolan went to Ohio State. They were on Judd Anderson for a little while. As a matter of fact, before I get to you, Vish, I'm going to do this. I got to go to Larry Bluestein on Judd Anderson and the quarterback.
What, you're not going to go to me on obscure recruiting stuff? Come on, man.
Forget about it. Blue, talk to me a little bit about Judd Anderson as a quarterback, but also what Miami is looking to do still at the quarterback position, possibly going into the summer with recruiting. Because look, Blue, the most important position always to recruit is quarterback, and then all the other chips fall, right? So how does this affect big-time wide receivers, big-time position players, skill players that want to come in and play for Miami, or are they still looking at another big-time prospect at quarterback?
Anderson's a pretty nice looking kid. I mean, I've watched enough film over the last couple of weeks, and at the beginning because he wasn't the only Miami wasn't the only school that was looking at him. Quite a few other programs. Ohio State was looking at him. He's 6'6", as you mentioned. He's Jack Allison is what he is. That's I know that Jack may not have worked out down here, but from a size standpoint, from running a little bit, from arm strength, from his vision, and I told this to somebody the other night I was on with them. I says, that's the first, as soon as I put on the tape for the first time, I said, oh, wow, there's Jack Allison in a purple and gold uniform. I mean, it's, this kid's pretty good. I mean, he's going to be a project, as you said, but not as much as you think. I mean, he's already got size. He's got arm strength.
He's athletic as hell from what I hear.
Very athletic. He runs in the 4.5 range. So that's a guy that could pick it up and see you later type guy. But
he's a basketball player too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't know if he's still going to play. I think usually when they get into their senior year, they kind of leave that behind. I mean, I know, you look just from past stuff, with like Teddy Bridgewater, who was a baseball guy, but he kind of left that in the background as he became a senior. You kind of devote, because that his future is going to be on the football field and not in the basketball court. And and then to answer your second part of the question, I'm not real sure that quarterback is a priority as far as going into the transfer portal. I really don't, because I think anybody could get hurt. At any time. But I think they're a lot more comfortable with Brown this year than they were last year. He's matured. He's going to get, early on, and other than the A&M game, he's going to get some reps, obviously, because Miami should take care of business in the Miami, Ohio game and games like that. I think they should be okay. So he's going to get reps. But I do think they're going to bring in another 2024 kid. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's AJ Hairston from Monarch High School.
Yeah,
another one of these guys that we screamed our ear off on everybody. Said, you got to watch this kid. This kid isn't just not throwing for 3,100 yards for for his health. I mean, a tremendous, got size. He's got arm strength. We watched him at the Rivals camp. I, told people, I said, just keep your eye on him. And then by the end of the camp, they came over and said, whoa, now I can see why Miami jumped on him. And I can see where, like Wisconsin and a couple of other schools have looked in his direction. But to answer your question, I don't think they're going to go in. I think their portal is going to be pretty much a wide receiver. They're going to get another linebacker, I believe. I think they're going to go get another offensive lineman, because if obviously you have some young guys on that offensive line, you can't just rely on them. But even if you do, you got to have some depth, and that's another position. I think the secondary is okay. They have some guys you could always use if they can get somebody. And then running game, everyone keeps, we got to get another. Why do you get another running back? I mean, last year was last year, and certainly everybody went down and you had to use somebody who was a walk-on. But you know what? Take a look around the country, and you'll see the same thing. From a depth standpoint, we really haven't even seen Citizen really play. We know what he's capable of. And I like what we see so far with Chaney. And you know what? I don't want to keep using the precursor. If he stays healthy. Well, the same thing with anybody. Obviously I know he's had a history, but he came back bigger, stronger. Every coach who's who I talked to, even with Tim Harris, he says, the guy's got NFL instincts. He's got NFL size.
I think he's the best back on this team.
Yeah, I mean, he is. And
from a talent perspective, absolutely.
And he'll get it. And that's the thing. He's designed to punish. He's designed he's got hands so he can get out of the backfield and become like a Lamar Miller type of guy. Because you get him in open field, and ain't many safeties are going to be sacrificing their body to come up and make a play on him. And I think that, also the thing I was really impressed with, and they're young, but remember, and you don't have Arroyo, but the tight ends have a potential to be a year from now amongst the best. And those guys that they got in, the young kids that they got in, there's another tight end, but they also got the 52-year-old that has an opportunity to play. So I'm looking forward to it. I just think that, to answer your question, I think that Anderson's. I think he's a great pickup for him, as you mentioned. And I think I even said something to Ja'Cory Brown about that. I said all these years, Miami never ever recruited a quarterback from Georgia. The last one I could even remember, and that's back in the 70s, Frank Glover, whose dad was an NFL referee from Mays High School in Atlanta. He was the last one that I ever remembered from Georgia. Miami just didn't go into Georgia very much for quarterbthat's.
Because Garcia doesn't count, right? Garcia doesn't count.
No, well, he's California, by the way, of everywhere.
Right.
So, that's not fair. But no, and I think, and I made Ja'Cory laugh a little bit. I says, listen, I remember watching you tear Miami Northwestern and Cam Kinchins up. They beat them 42-14. And I says, and the one thing you don't know is before Northwestern got to the Georgia-Florida line, they forgot about the game already. And we've seen what comes out of Georgia. We've seen what type of athletes come out of Georgia. I think Georgia and Louisiana are two states that don't get the credit that they deserve when it comes out to producing major talent.
Jaron Williams is a Georgia kid.
Oh, was he from Georgia?
I think so.
He didn't stay very long. So
we don't count him either.
He started for an entire season. What are we talking about? Well, that's one of those things. That's right. Didn't he break a record with 9,000 touchdowns? He lit up right before the entire Manny Diaz era imploded. He blew out Louisville and threw 6 touchdowns, and then we lost to FIU the next week.
Good time.
There's consistency.
Just all unraveled right from there.
That's the consistency we're looking for, right?
Yeah,
there.
right.
No, we were sitting there at 6-4 and like 8-4 for sure. Gonna get to a good bowl game. Things are looking up. Lost to FIU, lost to Duke, lost to Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, okay. We'll include Jaron Williams for that game.
I mean, he's in the record books. I don't think anyone's
That's
thrown
right.
6
He
touchdowns,
is.
So
He is in the record book.
so he's got the records there.
Oh boy! All right. Well, Judd Anderson, the latest commit for the University of Miami, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about that is until we reach, that elite status of, top 5 program,
Right.
you're going to be taking 3 and 4 stars
Yep.
and having to develop them. Like, not everyone's going to be a 5-star. And I think, obviously, Blue gave you a much more thorough breakdown of the kid than I ever would be able to, but people just need to calm the hell down. Like,
Yeah, so I think
every time
Anthony
it's
said
not
he's-
like, well, this, that, and the other thing, because you got to understand, once you get to that level, and you can actually, because recruiting services are old enough where, like, you can see our early 2000s classes that were terrible, full of 5 stars, because if Miami recruited you back then, you get a 5-star or 4-star automatically. So we had all these great classes that didn't have a lot of good players in them. The one I always go back to, and I don't want to call him out, I have no idea what he's doing now, but I still remember reading Akeem Jala's high school profile. Literally, it said in there, 5-star lock will be in the NFL in 3 years. And it's just totally based on the fact that Miami offered him. Because back then, if Miami wanted you, you were the best of the best. And that's what it is with Alabama and Georgia now. So it's not that they're not recruiting the same kids of the caliber of Judd Anderson. It's just that if Alabama takes a quarterback, they're going to be a 4 or 5-star.
Yep.
Same kid, they're going to get those extra stars. So people just need to relax, let it work through. We're not going to win 12 games and like go to the playoffs next year. Like, it's going to be a work in progress, and we just got to keep making that progress.
And by the
everyone
way,
overreacting to we missed this kid. Why'd we take this kid?
Yeah, but by the
calm
way,
down.
that's not to say that Judd is not he's a really good he's a good kid. He hasn't played a lot of football, believe it or
Right,
not,
but I mean that's kind of the reaction. It has nothing to do with him or his ability. Is my point. It's not like everyone's sitting here breaking down all this film and being
yeah,
like,
it's the
man,
stars.
he's got a long wind up, and they're just like, who? Forget this. We blew it, and it's like, you don't know anything about this kid.
And a lot of times, the 3-star kids and some of the lower ranked kids are ones that you'll be able to develop and build a program around, depending on how good they are. So that's always a plus too. And I was just looking at some of Judd Anderson's high school stats, and he averaged 19 points and 16 rebounds on the basketball court as a sophomore. So he's definitely a good overall athlete.
No,
and
he
has
is.
great size. So
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. You can never. I personally have become a little jaded of star rankings and just want to see it out on the field, but I think Anderson's a solid pick.
Well, I mean, there is definitely correlation between star rankings and success in a macro sense. Because again, the bigger programs, when they offer kids, it does go into the star rating. Like, they're like, ideally these recruiting services would break down all the film and do an independent judgment. They don't have the ability to do that. So instead they look at offer lists, and that drives a lot of the star rating. So there is and then of course Alabama and Georgia are going to continue to be good at football.
These rankings websites will tell you otherwise, though. So be careful. Yeah,
They can come in here and
Uh-huh.
do that. That's fine. We've actually it's
I'm just
documented
saying, it's
evidence
funny. Yeah,
of the stars hopping up and down depending on like where they come in, where they.
especially here.
Yeah, I mean
Sometimes
I
they
mean,
change quickly.
Yeah, if all of a sudden you lose a star when you commit to Miami.
I think they had no choice but to keep Okunlola and Maogoa as 5 stars.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, right.
They don't have a choice
but
there.
overall, if Alabama and Georgia aren't going anywhere, they're going to continue to compete in the playoffs, right? So when you have that, and then you also use that to correlate your stars, it makes you look really smart. Oh wow, we said that they had this high recruiting ranking and they're good.
And then not only that, then they do recruit some 3 stars, right? They'll
Right.
recruit 4 or 5 3-star athletes, and then develop the hell out of them, and
Right.
they end up being first
Look at
round picks.
Clemson.
Yep.
Look at Clemson. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
So
And
it's
Stetson Bennett, damn walk on.
right.
He's going to get drafted this year. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Another 48-year-old kid.
it's
So.
unbelievable.
Yeah, but again, there's a so overall, if you look at look at Alabama's average recruiting ranking and look at Georgia's, of course they're winning. It's those two things are related because their success on the field also translates back into the star rating. And where you make the big mistake, and this is what our fans did and what we do sometimes too, is when you then take it down to the micro level and say, this specific player, no, because of the star, like that correlation doesn't exist at all. Right. Like there is a macro, if you take your overall star rankings over a long period of time, loosely, like actually we're an exception because our star ratings far outweigh our on-field performance the last 20 years. But most of the time there is a correlation overall star, like average weight versus ranking, and they're loosely correlated, but not on an individual player level. What are you kidding me? Otherwise there would be why would coaches spend all this time recruiting? They would just go down the star ratings and be like, all right, these are the ones I'm recruiting.
Yeah, a lot of times they don't even listen to those star ratings.
Yeah, I know. So
evaluation.
I have a problem when we go after the kids and are like, hey, this guy is not worthy. Like, how the F do you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and look,
he's
gonna need. He's by the way, Anthony mentioned earlier. He's not. Apparently, he said in an interview that he's 6'7", not 6'6", which is whatever. That's fine. I don't care.
Tell me more about this basketball skill, because we got a hole at power forward.
Right.
19 and 16. You said
19 and 16 as a sophomore.
Jordan Miller's out of eligibility. We gotta get a starter out of there.
Not bad. But look, yeah, I think that I think he's going to be. He's got time. That's the thing. He's got a couple years to develop here. He's not going to start right away. He's going to have Jakari and Emory Williams, and if maybe in the transfer portal next year, Jakari Brown is not ready, he doesn't, live up to the expectations, then they may go get a guy in the transfer portal that played at one of these bigger schools. You never know. So from here to next year, everything could change. But as of right now, you need to continue to develop Jakari Brown, continue to develop Emory Williams, and then still recruit some top line players and try to get them in here as well. So, there's a lot of players that we need in the transfer portal, and I know some people mentioned it here on the chat. The linebackers, defensive tackles. That's Vish. I'm going to go before you. I'm going to look at the defensive tackle position in the spring, because first of all, we're kind of lacking there, right? Number one. Number two, we picked up a couple of transfer portal guys in Branson Dean and Tommy Gore. Thomas Gore is the biggest question mark. I think a lot of people are, wondering, with his size, he's very undersized. He was very productive at, what was it, Georgia Southern, was it, or Georgia State? Yeah. One of those schools,
Georgia
right?
Southern.
Georgia Southern. Very productive there, but he is a very, very undersized. And look, that's not a knock on any ops. I mean, I have no problem with that as long as he can go out there and be productive. And he is going to be a situational guy. He's probably not going to get, he's not going to be a 3-down defensive tackle. But he came here. Miami took a shot at him. I want to see if he can get some penetration, if he can plug some gaps, if he can do a couple different things. That's going to be important for him to get on the field, right? Branson Dean is another guy, bigger guy, right? 6'3", 290, 300-pound guy from Purdue. He's obviously a kid that I want to see play a little bit. Leonard Taylor, I'm not sure how much he'll play, but JHH, JHH, I guess you can call him, Jared Harrison Hunt, Ahmad Moulton. Those are some of the guys that are going to be important to see play, I think, this scrimmage, because, whether the offensive line they have an opportunity to be really, really damn good if those guys that are starters can stay on the field, Cohen and Lee, Rivers, Inez Cooper, when he gets healthy, comes back in. I'm sorry, not Inez Cooper. Inez Cooper at right guard, and Malgoa is at right tackle. But as soon as Matt McCoy gets healthy, that's going to be a battle there at right tackle with him and Malgoa. And if McCoy wins it, it's for McCoy. McCoy is a stud. That's not a knock on Malgoa, but those 6 guys, and then like you said, Blue, maybe grab another guy or two in the portal and develop the guys that you still have behind these kids. The offensive line could potentially be good. We spoke about it last year as well with Zion and all, and it never panned out. So I think that we just got to wait and see a little bit, but they have dominated the defensive line a little bit, with the exception of like some plays that Nigel Lee Kelly are making, and of course Ruben Bain, who nobody can block him apparently. So I think that for me, it's going to be the defensive tackle position. I'm going to watch in the spring game and see how that develops and if they can get any pressure and be productive there. What do you think, Vish? What's a position that you're going to keep an eye on?
Yeah, just quick on the DTs. I think that's a place we do have. You mentioned we have a lot of bodies
They have to
there.
recruit the hell out of that place,
Yeah.
out of that position.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they pulled multiple out of the portal probably tells you what they feel about that position in
Right.
terms of what was in house.
Yep.
But also be interested to see like how the scheme differs from last year and kind of what that looks like in terms of our defensive tackle usage. For me, I'm looking at the receivers. Can they? I mean, let's be real. The last few years, or maybe even more than a few years, they couldn't even catch the ball consistently. So, like, even if it's vanilla offense, like, how many drops do we have? I know everyone's saying we need to go in the portal and get another receiver. We probably will, but there's some talent here that I'd like to see. Like, I mean, we've talked a lot about, Restrepo was injured a lot of last year, but also there's no reason Brashard Smith shouldn't be a lot better than he is. Colby Young was our best receiver until Van Dyke got injured, and he didn't have the same rapport with Jakari Brown, so it kind of just went away from him. But remember, there's that again. We had so many like different phases of the season last year. I keep bringing that up, but like there was a period of time there where I was like, man, this Colby Young kid, we got a Lackawanna.
I know a lot of people don't want to mention him, but Michael Redding is back.
Michael Redding's back again. There's a lot of these guys that, again, going back to the recruiting out of high school, we were excited about that have not really lived up to what we thought they would be. New offense, new receiving coach, new opportunity. And so I'm looking to see if these guys step up and show some of that potential. I think we all felt they had coming out of high school. Like, we weren't sitting there saying, why did we take Michael Redding? Why did we take Brashard Smith? We're like, these guys can play.
Yeah.
And then it just hasn't happened here. So
Jacoby George too.
Jacoby George is probably our most talented receiver. So I mean, we probably need another one for depth.
Isaiah Horton is another.
He's had a great.
There are a lot of bodies here that are in theory should be very talented, and so that's the position I'm looking at. They catch the ball as a basic thing, right? Because even with vanilla play calling and all that, which I think we're all agree we're going to see, you still pitch and catch the ball. And Jazz talked earlier about how TVD is, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. When he's healthy, the ball's going to get to them. Are they going to catch it?
Right.
And I think that, and if they do, all of a sudden that's not a weakness anymore. You don't have to get that open for TVD to hit you, right? And if you just catch the ball when it hits you, you're going to do a lot of damage. So I think that's a position that's kind of been viewed as one of our weakest, but I actually think has a ton of upside to it.
Well, Muhammad posted something here at the end here. I'm hoping our new wide receiver coach develops these kids. Well, he is our new wide receiver coach, but there's nothing new about him in the Miami Hurricanes. That's for sure.
He's also our old wide receivers
coach. He's also our old wide receivers coach. But it's funny you mentioned that, Muhammad, because, Brashard Smith, and you mentioned him, Vish. Brashard Smith already said in an interview that this is the best coach he has ever had at his position. And we knew that. We knew Kevin Beer was going to come in and be a really good wide receiver coach. He can develop guys. He can recruit a little bit, but he's one of those passionate guys that loves to coach his players and loves to develop his wide receivers. Pair him with Shannon Dawson, who had Tank Dell last year, who had Clayton Tune that threw for 4,000 yards. Nobody even liked Clayton Tune, and he threw for 4,000 yards. He's going to end up being a backup somewhere in the NFL. Because he threw for 4,000 yards last year. Tank Dell had the most receptions, I think, and possibly, DJ, you might want to fact check me on this, might have had the most receiving yards in college football as well, over at Houston with Shannon Dawson. You pair those two together, and you've got yourself a recipe for some success at the wide receiver position and on the offense as a whole. So I love Ray Joseph, Blue. I know that's one of our
still
favorites.
Got a lot to learn.
Still got a lot to learn, but that's another kid that's going to come in and you just dump the ball off to him, and they'll find a way to get him in the game and create some space and get him out there. And once he does that,
Robbie Washington.
They've got some guys.
He looked good the day I was there. He
looked good.
Yeah, he looked very good. The thing, the knock right now on Ray is that you got to remember when he was in high school, he existed on speed alone.
Right.
See, you can't do this at that level because you got linebackers at 6'3", 230 running in the 4.4 range. So and not here perhaps, but somewhere that they're going to be playing against. So he can't be that one trick pony. He's got to learn a little bit to get upfield, because if you look at a lot of his balls, they were a lot, especially at Edison, they were short because they didn't really have a quarterback. So, they just needed to get his hands on the ball any way he can. And in high school, you don't have to stretch the field the way you do there. So that brings up how imperative it is that you have outside play and that you have a receiver like that comes on like a Jacoby George or a Redding or, like you say, Kobe Young. Because if they stretch the field a little bit and go up top, what that does is open the middle up. And then what happens is you got your Brashard Smiths and your Restrepos who catch those intermediate balls and turn them into 30-yard run, plays, because they don't have that overall burst and play game breaking abilities that some of those wide receivers do. But that's what people don't understand. That's why it's a team. And there's all these guys who do different things at every position. Not everybody could be the home run hitter, but you have a lot of guys that are setup people. So, and like Vish said, the one thing that you got to, let things play out. This spring, they're going to come out next Friday night. There's next Saturday is if I didn't have a camp, that would be a time to do a show because that would be a great time because you're going to get all these reactions, these instant reactions on all these people like the I told you so's or hey, I told you, so either way, you're going to get some pretty decent reaction, and DJ, as well as I do, you get an opportunity to watch these kids fresh and the Hurricane fans have been starved for so long. So the little thing, positive or negative, is going to stand out a lot.
I don't see how we can do a show.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think doing a show would be good because you guys will still remember it while it's fresh, and I'll figure out a way to watch it. Do they stream the game?
Yes, it's on the ACC.
Yeah.
It's on the ACC network,
Which I don't have, and this has been my biggest problem with trying to watch these games. Is the ACC network doesn't come in? Is it anywhere on the internet that I can?
Well, Josie and DBJ are going to be broadcasting.
Why don't you tell Ethan to put the playback on? You can do it Friday night. Do playback Friday night for it. Maybe we can. Well, I'm sure Mel will be at the game, Melissa, but maybe Vish can do playback with you on that spring game if you want. If you're available, Vish.
Yeah, would you want him? Vish?
Yeah, we can do that.
That might be a good idea.
We'll see if we do a playback for the spring game.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be good to test it out before football season too.
Absolutely. I'm down.
Yeah, that'd
with
be
it,
fun.
All right, fellas. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. We will give you some updates on Twitter at Six Rings Canes. What's up, Vish?
I just realized that. Yeah, I'll definitely play back with you, DJ. I'm going to have one eye on the baseball game. So at North Carolina on Friday.
There you go.
It's a big series.
You gotta give Vish credit, man. He's the ultimate fan.
Big segue into the baseball show we got coming up, Jazz, right now.
Yeah, we got a baseball show coming up. So if you want to talk about a little Canes baseball, make sure you stick around and catch that.
I threw the link into the chat, so
it should be depressing. I mean, exciting.
Is Gino Damari going to be your special guest or what?
Yeah, he's going to be a special guest. All right.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next month. Oh, actually, we might see you guys on Saturday after the.
I guess worst case, Monday's not that far away from Friday night. So either way, we will have a full spring game breakdown on Monday. Even if we do it on Saturday, we'll have another one on Monday. So either way, it's coming up.
Maybe we'll see you on Friday too. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see if we get that playback spun up.
Yeah,
maybe we'll have live cut-ins. Jazz and
we can do it from your phone, right? We can do some of that stuff too.
I can do it, so that'll be fun.
That'd be fun.
Keep it locked. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys soon. Who knows what day? Right. We'll see you guys. Later.
The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Rings Cane Show. You know.